What's up? I'm Clay Edgen. Welcome to the Mastermind. This is the first of, who knows, the only or maybe 1,000 series of question and answers that you submitted over the course of the last week to my Instagram here, Innovation, and also to my personal Instagram, Edgendary. I've got 10 questions now out of the ones that were submitted over the week, and I want to dig right into them. The first is, what supplements do you recommend? Meaning me. And out of all the clients I've worked with, over the hundreds of clients over the last decade or so, they all have a similar question. They want to know what it is that you take in addition to food, sleep, and water that makes you a better lifter, athlete, etc. A better lover, that's a different story. There's no hope for that. Don't even try. So better supplements, I first have to look at what you're already taking and what you need. You can go into the pharmacy and take any number of vitamins. You can take any number of minerals or prescription drugs, but maybe it's not what you need. So first, let's look at what you need. Are you somebody who doesn't eat breakfast in the morning because you're not hungry? Maybe you have a need for a cortisol manager because your cortisol is too high. Are you somebody who sweats a lot during the day? Maybe some electrolytes are in order. I'd still start addressing things in your lifestyle first. And even one step back from that is we need to look at what your lifestyle is like outside of the gym. If you are a type of person who spends every weekend going out, having some drinks, doing boozy lunch, maybe lunch with colleagues and friends on a weeknight, I might say the best thing for you supplement-wise is just not supplementing your lifestyle with alcohol or cigarettes or vaping or whatever you're doing that's hindering your performance in everyday life. Because all those things are kind of down-regulating your entire system and keeping you from performing at your best. So let's address things like your nutrition, your hydration, and your sleep first. But if you want to know kind of the brass tacks of what you should be taking outside of proper sleep, nutrition, and hydration, you've got those nailed down already. I think the top three for me are going to be creatine at number one, the micronized version, so it mixes easily in powder or easily in water. It's used by everybody. It can be used forever without any kind of cycling required. You don't have to go on 6 weeks, off 6 weeks. It's also been studied very extensively for its brain properties. So not only does it help you store energy in the muscles for more activity later on, it actually helps your brain in many, many ways. So creatine, number one, without a question. Good for men, women, kids, I don't know. Old folks, I don't know. I'm becoming one. I'll let you know when it happens. The only possible long-term side effects are, recommended doses of 10 to 20 grams a day, as per the studies, might indicate that over the course of several years, if you're not staying hydrated, there could be a heightened involvement of your kidney function. In other words, what you're taking in through creatine needs to be cycled out through your kidneys. And it could cause things like your CK levels or creatinine levels to be high in blood tests. But so does exercising, so does poor hydration. So make sure you're staying on top of your water and moving your body well like you should. The second thing is electrolytes. I remember we had Big Ray Williams, one of the all-time best powerlifters of all time. I'll say it twice, all-time of all time, came to the gym I own in Santa Cruz and gave a seminar on what we need to have a better squat. He's one of the best squatters in the world. And when I asked him, Ray, what are some of the things you recommend supplement-wise? He said, well, I train in Mississippi. It's hot as hell there. And so water, obviously not a supplement, but water with electrolytes specifically. There's all kinds of variations of electrolytes out there. If you're gonna look for one that's not sweetened or sweetened with monk fruit. Stevia is okay. Stay away from aspartame and other false sweeteners like that. Really, you want something like an element pack. The LMNT packs are pretty good. You're able to mix in a single serving into a large container of water, mix to taste. More powder means more flavor, of course. Just a little bit of salt. It's got magnesium, it's got sodium, all kinds of things you need to help replenish the electrolytes lost during exercise. Here in Texas, it was like 100 degrees for 100 days here, and we've been sweating our balls, male balls and lady balls off every day for the last 3 months. Finally, it's cooler. We're still working hard. Electrolytes are essential for replacing those minerals lost during exercise. Not only that, electrolytes, as the name might imply, have an electric kind of mechanism to them in the way that the muscles use energy. What I mean is, Electrolytes are like a sodium switch. Sodium is a switch for electrical activity within the muscles. More sodium we have in our body, the harder those contractions of the muscle can become. So it's like with electricity, for example, you put electricity in water, it gets even more powerful. Don't believe me, come see me for a newbie foot bath, or throw a toaster in your tub. Don't do that. And you'll find how much more powerful electricity can be. So when we have these electrolytes, they sort of amplify or increase the output of the nerve signal into the muscles and allow us to contract our muscles even harder, which of course, whether you're doing strength or bodybuilding or any kind of sports performance, are essential for your performance output. The third thing I recommend is like a simple, clean, even like a vegan protein. Most of us, if you're not 300 pounds plus and don't love eating, you're gonna have a hard time getting as much protein as you need throughout the day. Something like Orgain is like vegan, GMO-free, organic. Say what you will about vegan proteins and this is a vegan lifestyle, and now everyone will tell you they're a vegan before they tell you their first name. But there's something real to having like a clean plant-based protein in your system. Generally, they're easier to process by your liver and kidneys. You don't need whey per se. You don't need like milk-based or lactate-based proteins in your system. I think personally, once you stop suckling from mom's teat, you can be done with milk your whole life if you want to. That's just my theory on it. So guys hearing that being like, okay, mom, you still producing milk? I gotta get my gains in. Don't do that, that's weird. Not during the holidays, for God's sakes. So a plant-based protein, electrolytes and creatine, 3 things I think you and most people can use generally to supplement their proper nutrition, hydration, and sleep. There are other things like, branched-chain amino acids. They can be helpful if you're really burning a lot of calories and glycogen during your exercise. Not required, I think. Another good one would be fish oil capsules for heart health and brain health. That's good if you're getting kind of into your 30s and 40s. Maybe I'm there, maybe you're there. And you want to make sure that your body and brain are in their best possible shape into the second half of your life. Other than that, don't need a whole lot of stuff for supplements. Stop wasting your money. Stop making expensive piss on stuff. Question just came in. Did you train today? I trained clients today. I didn't train myself today. Today's training is working on training you, educating you on how to become the best version of yourself through these 10 questions I got over the last week. One I get a lot from clients is stretching. Do I do it before or after exercise? It's kind of all over the place. We used to use stretching in kind of group activities like high school sports or even PE to help us prime our bodies for whatever we were doing afterwards. I always thought it was a way for teachers to kind of get out of having us for the whole period. Like, oh, stretch for 20 minutes before and after exercise while they go have a smoke behind the building. But now we know that kind of a dynamic or more mobilizing stretch, static stretching is not really the thing. Dynamic stretching, like walking lunges, your hamstring sweeps, some rotational stuff, things to kind of get the blood moving and get our body primed for activity are going to be more helpful to us before exercise. For after exercise, if you need it, static stretching can help lengthen those tissues out to where they were before. Now that may be controversial. I'll take the heat for it, that's fine. But what I know is when I have clients stretch post-workout, their soreness is down probably 2 or 3 points out of 10 in intensity or in discomfort. If they don't do it, they feel a little more stiff. Sometimes if you're not hydrated enough, the fascia around the muscles can feel like it's a little bit sticky because they just aren't moving. They spend so much time contracting the muscles, contracting the nerves in the fascia, that it gets kind of stuck. So move your body before, exercise with great technique, and stretch your body out afterwards. And I think you'll be in the best possible place to inhibit or to maintain those muscle gains with as minimal discomfort and pain as possible. The best type of recovery, I get that question a lot too from clients. They say, should I do cold plunge or sauna? Should I do the master reset with you on the New Fit Newbie? I don't know if you can see it, but still a fan after working there for a few years and buying some machines. I love that place. The answer is the best recovery for yourself really is just like sleep. It's the number one thing. It's not fancy. Get yourself in a place to win sleep every night. If you're asking someone, did you train today? You should be asking them, did you sleep well last night? Because then you will train very well the next day. Sleep is so important. We hear everyone talking about it. Everybody from Huberman Lab to kind of you name it. If you're not rested and recovered, you're not performing at your best. So if you want to take it a step further and quantify the quality of your sleep, rather than waking up going like, I feel like shit, or I feel great, you can get wearable devices like the BioStrap, the Oura Ring. I have the 8 Sleep mattress, which tracks like HRV, heart rate at night, tosses and turns, and adjusts your temperature based on what it thinks you like to do at night, whether you're tossing and turning a lot. It also tracks the weather outside. So if it's a hot day, it'll lower the temperature of the bed for you even more. Kind of nice, but sometimes it gets it wrong, and I end up too hot or too cold in bed. Those wearables can give you a great kind of objective measurement of your heart rate variability and your resting heart rate to show an overall level of recovery and readiness for the following day. Now, speaking of HRV, if there's one metric to measure that shows your readiness for the next day, whether it's Whoop, Apple Watch, BioStrap, Oura, HRV has got to be it. HRV, heart rate variability, means the average in time between heartbeats. Normally we think of like 60 beats per minute for our heart is maybe 1 every second, 60 seconds in a minute, 60 beats per minute. We think 1 every second, about average, that's fine. Well, actually as we inhale, our heart rate speeds up. As we exhale, our heart rate slows down. I might have that backwards. I think I'm right. And so the time between those beats is different. It's not just a hard 1.0 seconds. It's maybe 1.1 or 0.75 or 1.03 seconds. HRV is the average of the milliseconds space between those heartbeats on average. We would like a nervous system and a body that's generally ready for activity to have a higher HRV depending on how old you are and your gender. Maybe that's 40, 60, or even 80 milliseconds. Over 100 is pretty damn good. Younger folks tend to have a higher HRV in general because they can get hit with a hockey stick all night long, drink whiskey, and then come back with 100 HRV. It's very annoying. So it's a great way of kind of objectively tracking your overall recovery. Some things that might improve that recovery are, of course, avoiding blue light after a certain time, not eating past 7 or 8 p.m. at night, sipping on water in the evening rather than chugging it, because chugging water could lead to getting up during the night and going on restroom breaks, disrupting your sleep. And of course, making your room as sure as the right temperature and the right level of darkness for your eyes and your comfort. I don't think we as athletes and gym folks need cold plunges. I think they're nice to have. They build resilience. They can do things like release cold shock proteins in the muscles and the liver, which can help you burn fat. If you watch Gary Brecka, he's really all about cold plunges. The language he uses is a bit sensationalized to kind of plug cold plunges in a lot of ways. I don't think we need cold plunges. Most of us don't. 99.9% of the population don't need a cold plunge. Life is hard enough sometimes between traffic and work and jobs and family. We don't need to add additional resilience, building exercises. They can make you better at handling all the things I mentioned earlier, but not required. Infrared sauna, great for post-workout hypertrophy. It's been shown clinically, empirically, to have an effect on hypertrophy and muscle growth by increasing blood flow to those muscles that we worked post-exercise and starting that regenerative process. Not required for general strength and conditioning, not required for folks just wanting to burn a little bit of fat. Don't equate the sweat you put out during a sauna session with fat that you're burning or on your midsection, because they are not the same. We'll talk about that another time. Another question that's becoming kind of a hot button issue is training to failure. Should I train to failure? Should I follow Mike Metzger's high intensity training protocol and just do one set to complete failure, exhaustion, and move on to the next exercise? I think training to failure has its place in every program, and that place is the garbage can. Training to failure is only for those athletes, not general population, those athletes who are high, intermediate, or advanced in their experience. They are on performance enhancing drugs. That helps a lot with that stuff. And they have an extremely high discipline to stop when technique begins to break. The point of high intensity training one set to failure, is to isolate a muscle group or a few muscle groups to with a technique of a lift and wear them down to the point where they are no longer producing any kind of output. More fibers in the area are recruiting in the area to facilitate that movement. and we're just getting complete exhaustion and fatigue in the muscles. As a point of reference, your nervous system only allows access to between 30 and 40% of muscle fibers in your body at any one time as an untrained person. This is somebody who goes to the gym very infrequently or who has never gone to the gym. The rest of that 60 to 70% muscle fibers are held in reserve by the nervous system. You're built first for preservation, not for performance. And so those fibers are just there if we need them. Like if a car falls on grandma, you're going to muster the strength to flip it up and let grandma escape. Let's keep grandma away from changing the oil under your car. You never have to use those muscles. Even the most highly trained athletes, they found, were only able to recruit around 70% of all the muscle fibers in their body. So even Olympic athletes, world record holders, only 70% of the fibers, the physical fibers in their body, could be accessed by the nervous system at any one time. And you achieve that by repeatedly exposing the muscles to higher reps, higher loads, higher intensities over time. Now, if you use something like the NewFit Newbie, another plug for NewFit here, you can activate more of those fibers from the very first rep rather than having to fatigue those fibers over the course of 15, 20, 25 reps. The problem is, most of us are not intermediate or advanced athletes. We're not on tons of drugs, and we lack the discipline to stop when the reps get a little bit sloppy. So one set to fail, it's controversial. It's very popular now to say, let's do one set to fail and be done with it. That's kind of the easy way out. What's going to happen is, as you do that one set of, say, incline press, and you're focusing on the chest and shoulders, you'll begin to lose your form. You'll begin to lose the tuck of the upper back on that bench, and then you're putting more load into those joints than needs to be. As soon as you begin to lose that form, cut the set. If you're going to train to failure, train to form failure, not to muscular failure. You'll live a lot longer in the gym that way. Another question next to that is, how do I know if I'm overtraining? How do I know if I'm doing too much in the gym? Again, most of us are not intermediate or advanced athletes. We're not on tons of drugs. And most of us could use some help with our sleep, nutrition, and water. So I look at lifestyle factors when someone asks, I think I'm overtraining. What do I do? Am I overtraining? And we kind of get into their lifestyle. So when training for a specific event, like a competition for powerlifting, which I've been doing for the last 20 years as an athlete and 10 years, 11 years as a coach, helping, 80 or 100 lifters go to the powerlifting meets. The same thing always happens at the end of that cycle, or even once in a while in the middle. And that is, their sleep begins to suffer when the weights get very heavy. Their mood is a little more tenuous, a little more quick to be irritable. Their hunger is sporadic, not as voracious as it used to be. And they're not able to fully feel recovered. They may even find that they are impacting their quality of life outside of the gym with spouses or occupations because they just don't have like the patience to deal with those people. You know who you are, those people, your spouses and your bosses. Maybe they're the same person, God forbid. So the questions I always ask are like, are you experiencing these symptoms, irritability, sleeplessness, lack of hunger, lower energy? And if they say yes to some of those, I say, are you also still hitting the weights you need to hit in your training, but it feels like it's a stretch? And if they say yes, I say, I think we take a deload week. This is a good conversation to have a deload week where we take no compound exercises. We come into the gym half as many times, cut the volume to a third to a half of what it used to be. Now you just come to the gym to at least check the box that you came to the gym. There's no need to keep pushing when you're grinding this hard, day in, day out, day in, day out. Most of us are not working hard enough to overtrain. Most of us go to the gym for 90 minutes at a time, which is not too productive, by the way, a few days a week, and then we go home, we sleep 8 hours, and we eat a bunch of food. We're in a caloric surplus. We're in a sleep surplus, or at least adequate sleep, and hydration is hit or miss. To train to failure, or to overtrain, means you are consistently hitting that wall every session and pushing the limit of what you're able to do every session, and then doing it again, and then not supplementing your sleep, hydration, and nutrition the way you should be to support that. Your job in the gym, I don't care what kind of fucking athlete you are, whether you are a bodybuilder, powerlifter, strongman, or general population, is to get into the gym, spend 40 to 60 minutes tearing down fibers, getting your heart rate going, and get out of the gym. The faster you can get that work done, the more of that 24-hour period you have for your recovery. Don't mistake a 2-hour training session for a good training session. That's poor planning, poor discipline, and you gotta do better. After about 60 to 75 minutes, it actually becomes detrimental to keep exercising. Your cortisol levels begin rising, and you're kind of like hitting this wall. You're no longer able to achieve max power output. Not only that, but sustained levels of an elevated core temperature can really inhibit performance. Elevated core temperature will lead to an overall reduction in muscle tension and muscle contractile force. So unless you're able to cool your body through things like polymer cooling, or taking a break to go outside on a chilly afternoon if you're in a warehouse gym and get your body temperature down and still stay within an hour to 75 minutes of timeline, you're not doing anything good for yourself by being in the gym for an hour and a half to 2 hours. If you're there being social, that's fine. Just don't keep training, for 2 hours. It doesn't do you any good. As somebody who's been in powerlifting for 20 years, this has been an argument ever since the internet was the internet. Is sumo cheating? Is sumo different than conventional enough to where it should not be allowed in powerlifting meets? In strongman, which is mostly run by giants, sumo isn't really a thing. It's not allowed. It's only conventional. Sure, you can wear straps and suits and cranes and forklifts and fucking jaws of life to get the bar off the ground. But if you do it conventional, that is. Sumo, not a thing. In powerlifting, sumo is an acceptable style for deadlifting. I don't think it's cheating. I think it just should be viewed differently. I think it might even go so far as to say, let's have separate records for like sumo deadlift state records and conventional records. Because me, a conventional puller who has to pull the bar 38 inches from the bar to the ground, I'm 6'5", versus somebody in the same weight class who pulls the same weight 21 inches, it's more efficient, sure, and they get the credit for that. But there's no Wilks, there's no like algorithm or no formula for how far you have to pull the bar. There's no credit for me to pull that bar the extra fucking 38 inches to get the bar to lock out. It's a different lift. It's a long time under tension, a long way to go. I don't think it's cheating, but I do think that at some point a federation will be wise enough to note sumo versus conventional deadlift records. Not that we need more state records in the sport, more divisions, or more participation awards to give out, looking at my wall back here. But it sure would be nice if there was a way to differentiate between, oh, Clay pulled 713, conventional? Man, way to go. Or better yet, let's stop calling it conventional. Let's call it sumo and missionary. Let's get really like vanilla with it. There's a side note. A lot of my clients are general population people who are in their 30s or 40s and they just want to like burn fat and get some muscle tone. So another question I hear all the time, and a question I got from a lot of you, is what's the best way to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time? This one's kind of hard because it's not impossible to do both simultaneously. It's just that you can do one really well. You can do two kind of half-ass. You can burn fat and build muscle. And if you track these things as you should over the course of weeks or months, and you're strict with your food, hydration, and sleep, you'll see trends in the right direction. Most of us don't like having to bust our ass 4 hours a week, 6 hours a week, every week to find a half pound to a pound of muscle growth a month and 0.5% of fat loss a month. That sucks. And we get greedy and we think, I want to change up my program, I want to change up my lifestyle to just do fat loss, to just bulk and get bigger. And that's why we have these kind of low-hanging fruits of bulking cycles and cutting cycles. I see one of my clients here. The next question I get often is low bar or high bar squats, which are better? And this is another fight on the internet. Low bar is better for you because it gets the bar closer to your hip crease, closer to your lower of your back, where it's a shorter lever point from the loaded bar down to your hips and your low back. Other folks say, look up to go up, put the bar on top of your traps, put your chin to the sky, drop your ass to the ground and get out of there. The best answer for you is it depends. It depends on your sport. Olympic weightlifters need a little more of an upright position on the squat, and they have to squat high bar to simulate the rack position of a clean or the overhead catch position of a snatch. Powerlifters have a little more flexibility, only in the terms of this analogy, not in actual flexibility in their bodies, for God's sakes, in that they are able to choose a position of the bar on the shoulders that is a little more biomechanically advantageous, let's say, to their own levers. For example, lifters that tend to have shorter femurs relative to torso length, so a longer torso to femur length compared to other people of the same height, would be more inclined to squat heavier weights with a high bar position where they are a little more upright. I very often see athletes and clients with low back pain who have tried low bar squatting over the years, and they have a long torso and short legs, and they fold way over. As I watch them from the side, the end of the bar is 6 inches in front of their toes, and they're kind of good morninging the bar up, not because they have weaknesses, but because the bar's in the wrong spot. Those with relatively longer femurs compared to a shorter torso length, aka deadlifters who would go to conventional or missionary, we're working on that, will do better to put the bar lower on their shoulders, so it is closer to that kind of hip joint with that low back. And the way to determine that is you can, of course, look at yourself and say, do I have a longer torso to leg length ratio? Do I have long femurs? It's not an excuse not to squat heavy, first of all. It's just a way of doing it differently. And then looking at yourself from the side, filming yourself from the side, or having someone watch your squat. And what you do is you take like a 90-degree view of yourself, either with a video or with a coach, a trainer, or a friend, a trusted friend, and you look at the end cap of the barbell. There's the bar, there's the plates, and you're looking right at the end of the bullseye of the bar. And if that bar travels straight down from your shoulders down to the arch of your foot, when you're standing with the bar on your shoulders, we're off to a good start. If the bar is forward or backwards, we need to adjust it so it is straight up and down over the arch of your foot. The second thing is, as you squat, in the bottom of that squat, when your hip crease is below parallel, that bar must be over the arch of the foot in order for it to be in the best place on your shoulders. So if you get to the bottom of that squat and the bar is just below your traps, above your deltoids, and somebody from the side can see that the end cap of that bar is straight over the arch of your foot, that's a straight line from where you were at the top. That's about as most efficient as you can be with a squat. That's where the bar should be. If you find that from the side, the end cap of the bar is further forward over your laces or even over your toes, that bar is too high up on your neck, not in the right spot. We've ended up folding forward a little bit too much and needs to come back a little bit further. Very rarely will I see a bar kind of beyond the midfoot towards the heel. It's mostly like arch of the foot or forward. So get a trusted friend, hire us a coach for one session. Ren Tipton, Iron Vault, fantastic for this, great powerlifting coach by the way. And have her or me look at the side view of your bar, make sure it lands over the arch of the foot. That is the best way to determine whether the bar should be held high or low on your shoulders. No other kind of ethos or thesis or anything else, in my opinion, holds any kind of weight. It must start and finish over the arch of the foot in a straight line. If you're doing Olympic style weightlifting, that bar's going to move around a bit based on your depth of squatting, the mechanics of your levers. It's not as cut and dry as in powerlifting. Powerlifting and general strength training, the bar must go from arch of the foot when that's on your shoulders when you're standing to the arch of the foot when you're in the bottom of the squat below parallel. No other test in my mind holds any kind of weight. And as long as that bar lands over the center of the foot, I almost don't care where the ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders are translating to laterally or sagittally in that lifter, as long as the bar lands in that spot. Everything else adjusts to make the bar land over the arch of the foot. Another question I hear a lot is, what is the best program for strength? Should I get a template program? Should I do Juggernaut AI? Should I get a customized program? First of all, your customized program from your online coach is probably going to be just a copy and paste template they fed to other people who look and act and want to live just like you. So try to find somebody who's going to communicate with you on a personalized program and give feedback to you on a regular basis. Template programs that I've used in the past for myself that have been successful were the Cube method by Brandon Lilly and the Juggernaut method by Chad Wesley Smith. I used to own a gym in California called Santa Cruz Strength, and I would run this like power building or powerlifting style 4-day program on the whiteboard. I've run 3 or 4 month cycles. We do different templates, test out which ones work best. I've ran 5-3-1, West Side, my own shit I made up, Juggernaut, Texas method, everything you can think of every 3 or 4 months for 4 years. And the ones that always performed the best were the Juggernaut method, and second best might be the Cube method, although it's hard for folks to get used to like squatting, benching, and deadlifting 3 times a week at different speed, volume, and heavy intensity, and the next week is heavy intensity, volume, and speed. it gets confusing for most folks who aren't kind of deep in the weeds on this powerlifting stuff anyways. So Juggernaut's always my first go-to for a template program. I've not tried the AI yet since the very beginning days, so I don't know how effective it is. Sorry for the COVID. Just kidding, I don't have COVID. But the best program for you is the one that contains a linear progression of sorts for your compound lifts, if you're a powerlifter, and has accessory exercises that are geared towards your specific weaknesses. So if you're somebody who, during the squat, your bar hits the center of the foot like it should, but your ass shoots up before anything else comes up, then we first look at like hip mobility and hamstring weakness as being the first two culprits on why that happens. If the hips move in the way they should, it's the hamstring's fault. And so we're going to do hamstring curls of the standing and lying variety, some RDLs, but I don't think stiff-legged versions of hamstring exercises work as well as a hamstring curl. Even like leg press with the feet closer together and high up on the plate, so you get a little more hamstring bias. Just burn those hammies out. If you're light enough or strong enough, doing Nordic curls or glute ham raises, back extensions are okay for it as well. Hit those hamstrings hard. If you find that you are somebody who hits the bottom of the squat and you just get stuck, then one of your accessory exercises should be things for the lower abs, like hanging leg raises, pelvic floor exercises for men and women, super important. That's the hammock of power you sit into in a squat and deadlift. It could also be just general core strengthness throughout the entire core and upper back weakness. Hit the bottom of that squat and you get stuck, it's hips or pelvic floor or low abs primarily. If you find that you have a hard time standing up, you get stuck about 2/3 of the way up in the squat, you gotta work on those glutes, man. You can't get stuck halfway up. You gotta extend those hips, and the hips aren't able to extend because the glutes aren't strong enough. So keep those glutes in tight. If you find that the bar, you hit the bottom of the squat and the bar rolls onto your shoulders because you can't control it and then it pitches you forward, we gotta work on the upper back strength. So behind the neck pull downs, behind the neck presses, the list goes on. The short version of this is you must program exercises that are specific to your weaknesses, not to what you think looks good or feels good or that you're good at. God forbid. Don't do the shit you're good at. You're not going to the gym to get good at a certain thing. You're going to the gym to work on the weaknesses in the lift so you can become better at the lift itself. Very different mindset. This is why having a trainer or a coach experienced in programming, someone like Ren Tipton or myself, for example, looking at your program and looking at your lifts and assessing where you are weak in the chain to come through and design a program for you. Or at least say, hey, I noticed in the bench you stall at lockout. Usually it's a result of the triceps not holding their own. Let's do these compounds, a pin press, an overhead press, and a tricep push down and some dips to help with your bench press. Or I noticed the bar gets stuck on your chest when you're benching. Let's work on pecs really hard and like double drill your back, heavy rows, heavy pull downs, and get those lats really strong so you have some trampoline to bounce that bar off of, not bounce, but to accelerate the bar off your chest when you're doing that bench press. In the deadlift, the bar gets stuck at your knees, that's your glutes. If it gets stuck at your lockout, that's your low back or upper back. Gets stuck off the ground, that's your hamstrings and quads, maybe your core. So having someone look at these things and know what muscle groups are responsible for those weaknesses will build you the right protocol. You don't go into the fucking pharmacy and buy all the vitamins on the shelf. No, you go to the pharmacist, you say, hey, I got low blood sugar, or hey, I need to put some iron in my diet, or hey, I want to burn some fat, what do I need? And they give you what you need. Find you a coach, doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be Ren. We know what we're doing, but somebody who you can know and trust that can assess your lifts and say, I think you're weak in these areas and help you design a program just for you. Then work that program without deviation for 4 to 6 months. Just go to the gym, build on those things for 4 to 6 months, and then test those lifts again and see where the new sticking point is. I promise you, this has been tried and true over hundreds of clients of strength cycles. Focus on those accessories that hit the muscles that are weak in the chain of muscles for the compound lift, like hamstrings. If your ass is coming up first in the squat, for example, the squat will go way up. You might have your ass coming up out of the squat a little bit on the heavy one, but that squat's going to be 60 pounds heavier over those 6 months. And the ass coming up will be just a little bit less than it was before. It'll be safer and stronger. It'll always be the low kind of dial on that soundboard, even though you're pushing everything up. If you want to get everything even, don't squat and just do the hamstring work for 6 months, but that's not realistic. do all your work. Focus on your first accessories are going to be the exercises that you need most. And then if you want to do the bullshit jump volume at the end, your 200 band tricep push downs, West Side style, that's fine. But just eat your fucking vegetables first. Do your meat and potatoes, your squat, bench, deadlift. Eat your vegetables, the accessory you know you should be doing, and then go have some cake, you fat fuck, and do some tricep push downs. Have a good time with it. You know, it's your life. Live your life. The question I still get asked once in a while after going to the Olympia and seeing the grip contest there is, do you still train grip and do you still compete in arm lifting? The answer is no. No, I did that for 20 years, from 2003, 2023, 20 years, 97 competitions between grip strength, you know, arm lifting, Moss wrestling, powerlifting, strongman, 6 countries, you know, all this stuff. I did it. It was a season of my life. It was half my life where I did it. I still don't train grip that often. It's just kind of there. Grip is a neurological thing more than it is like a muscle building thing. Hands have memories of grabbing these heavy things and picking them up, closing the number 3 gripper without any kind of warm up. I can still pick up the inch dumbbell with either hand, no warm up, double overhand, 400 pounds on an axle, pretty easy. And that's enough. That's enough for me. I feel good about that. So although I see the sports progressing in ways that I still think I could chase and be competitive in, that's my ego talking, and my ego doesn't run the show anymore. Like, I run the show now, and my body is healing at a rate I never thought it could. My body is healing at a rate that exceeds the strength gains I had because I'm not training for competition. The pain in my elbows and my hands, my knees, my back, virtually gone. Occasionally here or there, but it's because I'm training, I'm exercising rather than training, that these things are happening. So for me, the season for competition is over. A season of my life, not the season of the year. It might be over for good. It's nice to know I've had some world records. I've been in a couple books. I've been on TV. That's good, man. I'm good. I did it. I don't need to keep doing it. I did it. To just keep doing it is just to clutch at this crumbling mountain of performance as I get into my 40s, trying to sustain this high altitude of performance over the course of the next 8-10 years. And it can be done, but I don't want my lifestyle and my identity to be centered around training for competition anymore. Doing 6 to 8 shows every year, sometimes back-to-back weekends, sometimes back-to-back in the same weekend or in the same day. It's not what I want anymore. So I still have the grip strength. I can still bend the red nail, close the 3, shut the 4 on the silver bullet. By the way, if you don't know grip strength, none of this means shit to you, but they're pretty good, I assure you. You know, inch dumbbell, 245s pinched, blob, all that stuff, I still got it. It's there forever. It's in the hands. It's in my memory. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook if you want to see it. Not that you give a shit. But no more training for competition, I think. It's a good time to retire from it and to leave it be and leave it for someone else to step into. Some great talents out there. And just to be an ambassador and a fan of these sports from the sideline instead of pushing so hard to be on top of the podium. I did it already. This is one of 3 fucking trophy cases in my house. There's 20 more trophies somewhere in a dumpster in Arizona from driving from New Mexico to California. I need to dump some weight off. They don't mean anything anymore. I can throw them all away now. It's the memories of them. And I've forgotten most of the memories in those trophy cases. But it's the memories of the training and the trying and the showing up and the nerves and the failure and the getting beat by 5 pounds, or getting beat by 1 second, or winning by 1 second. Those things, they're all mostly forgotten. And what I have for are, you know, sometimes my knees hurt, my elbows hurt sometimes. I got some of these things kicking around the house, and that's pretty good. I feel proud of what I did. So no more training for grip, no more training for powerlifting, just enjoying coaching and getting my body in the healthiest shape possible. I lost 35 pounds over the last 2 months and another 30 pounds over the last year prior, just getting into healthy shape. I feel good. That's all the questions I've had time to answer today. Thank you for tuning in if you watched any of this. And I'll be posting some of this on Instagram going forward. If you have more questions about things, whether it's programming, powerlifting, grip training, why am I so handsome, DM me. Don't DM me why I'm so handsome, because that's just weird. I know why I'm handsome. It's because I'm strong. And then let's put some more of these videos out. Thanks. Have a good night.